All right, we're back with Jason, the chief of design for my favorite startup company. Thank you for making the time. We've got lots of things to talk about. How are you?
Mostly well, thanks for asking. And yeah, good to be back.
Wonderful. Well, I was so glad you reached out. It was right around the time that Aptera kind of unveiled this brand new design for the wheel pants and how to access the tires. And I immediately had all these questions as soon as we saw that. And I guess my first one was like, were you sitting on this design for a while before you unveiled it? Like, how long has this been in development?
Yes, we have been sitting on this design for quite some time because it needed to get through, enough maturity on the engineering after the concept. And is this really viable? And how does it compare strength-wise, weight-wise, cost-wise? And it turns out it's an excellent mix of solving 3 or 4 different issues in kind of one elegant solution. It took us a while to get there, but like any good design process, and by design, I mean the engineering design process, you want to find out what's your minimum parameter and what's your maximum. Like, what's the best way to get air into the tire? Obviously, at one end, it would be, from a philosophical standpoint, it's like, well, you don't need air. We have airless tires. At the other end is, how do I get air in there on a daily basis, which is not really the use case scenario anyway. In solving for the customer user experience for getting air in the tire when you need to, we did several different iterations: a small notch, a small door, a hatch, removing half of it, removing the whole thing, but removing, about 1 meter piece of material and having to undo mechanical fasteners is not ideal for the user at all. So in the end, we kind of stumbled, one of those moments where you're working with the engineers and you say, what about this? And then it all kind of fell into place. So we just chased that down over the last months, and then we decided to share. So it's not an addition of a feature, it's a reveal of a feature.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that. And I guess you kind of touched on that with fasteners. Does this require a tool?
No,
to open up?
Does not.
Wow.
So it's one pivot, one latch.
And it's just locked in place?
Correct. Latch is an existing mechanism, and we've been able to employ that in this concept. We'll be building that in our PI builds for sure. Not only is it for access to the air, but when you combine this system with the jacking points underneath, you'll be able to prop up the vehicle and change the entire wheel and tire assembly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can service brakes, you can service air, and you can remove and add
nice
tire.
Oh, that's smart. Okay. If there is no, it's literally just you pull on it. It's just like the right amount of pressure brings it up.
There's a mechanical fastener. There's a lever that you have to reach under and do an action to.
I see. Because my next concern was going to be like if you hit a speed bump or something, would that like push it off? But I guess that wouldn't be hitting the lever.
If you think of some
smart
fasteners where there's like almost like a safety pin, or in order to engage it, it's similar to that.
That's so clever. And do you plan on having something kind of similar to that for the back tire? I know that's a different wheel design, but
thank you for asking. But there is we're working on Air in Part 2, the animation.
Okay.
We will be revealing how the customer can get the air into the rear tire should they need to.
Okay, so that kind of covers my wheel pant question. I saw some people noticing, I'm not sure if this was an official announcement or not, but the configurator got updated with a bit more tweaks on the interior. Did the display get a little bit smaller to help with efficiency, or is it the same display dimensions as Alpha?
It is not the same display dimensions as Alpha. It is smaller since quite a while, so it should be fairly represented that it's a 12.8 inch on the diagonal display. And then we have the area around it, which is the vents. That's another upcoming, let's say, reveal of the feature of how those vents actually work. The display is sized appropriately for the cabin, and
gotcha.
and the UI UX is designed for that cabin. So when you speculate like, oh, maybe that's too far away, keep in mind that it's not what you and I might be used to in a larger screen environment. The features that we're talking about, especially on the interior, and remind me, but I want to speak to those renders on the configurator. If you're able to come and visit, you'll be able to sit in what we call the interior evaluation module that has a production representative seating position, IP, screen, reach envelopes, all the things that you would normally develop in a vehicle. We have now that manifestation that's evolved and improved from what we learned from Gamma. The animation itself and the configurator images, they're updated based on production release CAD data, as opposed to this is a design concept surface only, and then we'll engineer it. We're kind of beyond beyond the design concept phase. So everything you're seeing in the air and video, almost 100% from the CAD release. And that's why we can use that to kind of demonstrate and share these features.
Those renders are gorgeous, by the way. I love those visuals you guys did.
Again, it's two-part. That's the production data, right? So it's all the fidelity of the fasteners and the B side and everything. At the same time, we have a great tool in order to make these videos as real as possible.
A lot of people have expressed concerns when it comes to like the width, because with that 3 wheelbase design, it has to be a bit wider than most people might expect for a 2-seater or sedan kind of size. For European regulation and that kind of thing, like, is there any way the wheelbase can be tighter? Do you think it's not as big an issue as people are thinking? Like, just on paper, at least, it feels like the wheels are sticking out a bit more than they would on a traditional vehicle.
Right. And be clear, for European homologation, that's a different subject and different story. This vehicle is designed for a set of specifications or regulations that we're pursuing. We do anticipate to make the changes to fit in different jurisdictions once we've proven out the market fit on what our vehicle is now.
Can you see the wheel pants from the driver position?
Yes.
So that probably helps with knowing where you can fit and where you have to be a little cautious.
Yes, it gives you situational awareness.
I know when you guys kind of first showcased your yoke design, that was when, in the midst of the Tesla Model S and X refresh, there was a lot of discussion on yokes. I'm personally a big fan of yokes. I'm willing to give them a shot. But now Tesla, especially with the S and X, has kind of shifted back to steering wheel by default. You got to pay extra for a yoke. I'm curious if you guys are still toying with, do we want to go forward with the yoke? Do we want to stick with the steering wheel? Is there any consideration up for that?
I'll answer it 2 ways. One is, how much time have you spent with a yoke?
Personally, me, not so much. I've only had test drives with S and X, but I had a good experience with it. I know others haven't, but
we are in a position that is not addressing, let's say, a market size or the amount of builds that we're going to do, where we could comfortably offer different options. So we are absolutely pursuing the driving dynamics reflected and the vehicle experience reflected with the yoke.
Well, that's good. Well, the good news is you guys still have blinker stock, kind of thing on the left side.
We have a left stock for blinker and a couple other functions, yes.
What I've gathered from a lot of people's experience with the yoke and the updated stockless design Tesla's kind of moving forward with is a lot of people complain about having your blinker controls moving. So you guys kind of have that hybrid approach where it's not full steering wheel, but your blinker position doesn't change.
I would say a lot more people complain about people not using their blinkers than the ability to use a blinker, whether it's on a stock or on a steering mechanism.
Did you work with the software team overall on this new UI we saw in the Air In video?
We worked with the software team. What I did is, because I'm responsible for the overall user experience and user interaction, underneath that becomes the specific to the central display controls. What I did is brought in the right people from different experiences. One is coming from one of the best hyper and supercar makers in the world. You would know the name. The other, who's actually the lead, is coming from this company that is probably the leading EV company ever. I'll let you guess. And we have a very small focused team, and then they have helped with the engineers on the software side to set up the design system. The software engineer, the code, the visual design, and then the use case scenario. It's all being worked together by this small focused team. They're doing a great job on it. I kind of umbrella over the whole thing, but it's the critical component for our users, and being able to have that and build the relationship with the vehicle. This is the thing that a lot of people miss, is that the real magic is not that it does things like other vehicles. The real magic is that it creates a different relationship with the product. And it sounds funny, and for me, coming from 30 plus years in the automotive industry, once you realize that the real difference with an EV is a kind of relationship, that changes a lot of your perspective.
Being an EV owner just for me, pretty new. It's only been about a year, but I gotta say, software matters so much in an EV, more so than other vehicles in the past. And not to discredit what your early prototypes had software-wise, but people were like, it's kind of interesting looking. But these new renders we've seen with the updated software, I can even see in your background stuff playing around, just got me so excited for that relationship that you're talking about, trying to make it intuitive and still customizable. And I think the smart thing is kind of putting the solar energy generation front and center, because you're really not going to be getting that kind of UI and that kind of reminder of the energy consumption with any other vehicle. So
100% correct, and great observation. Thank you. That's exactly where we're at. And again, we're constantly revving within our plan the UI UX, not just the screen, but the app and what that means. Those relationship between the app, the vehicle, and the user interaction and user experience. It's even things that don't involve, let's say, software. It is, what is the experience when you approach the vehicle? How does the vehicle act? What is the welcome sequence? All of the little things. So that's why UI UX is such a big kind of house that we have to make sure every room is properly furnished.
For sure. And where do you fall on the whole CarPlay integration thing? Because that's a big subject for Tesla. Like, so many people keep asking for CarPlay on the Tesla's against it. I saw the little CarPlay icon in the Air In video, and I'm assuming that's still like how a debate for the company right now. It's like, how do we integrate that? And it's a challenge that Rivian has also been against. They said, we don't want to support CarPlay, let's just do everything ourselves. So how much of the screen do you think that should take up, or what information can CarPlay not show versus what you guys have to show?
We will share that at the right time, but we know exactly what size and what that looks like, because we've designed for that, and the Android side as well.
I'm curious if you personally, is there electric vehicle on the market right now that kind of inspires you or that stands out to you of like, okay, I want to create an emotion or a reaction like the one I have with that other company?
Wow, that's I can't think of a single vehicle, but I'm inspired by all the vehicles that are either in testing, on the cusp of, or kind of next gen. I really think there is a major shift for the, let's call them the new players on the automotive side. Keep in mind that our vehicle doesn't fit in an existing market space. It is technically, it's not a car. Market-wise, we don't consider it, a vehicle. It's 100% correct that you can make, kind of comparisons on metrics, but we, instead of trying to look at a set of data that says this is what people want over here at this price point, we're letting the purity and the authenticity of the product bring people to a whole new space. Now, that doesn't mean we can't take the philosophies and the ethos and the learnings and then go after let's say an existing marketplace. I'm just inspired by the overall market space.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. We're in an exciting time in technology innovation, and I think you guys are at the cutting edge. So I'm trying to get a hold of everybody there as I can, find out any info I can. So thank you for making the time. Is there anything else you'd like me to ask about before we wrap up? Or
no, I think, thank you for support. Look forward to sharing more of the reveal of the existing, features. Your first question was like, when did you discover this? There are so many things that we needed to, mature and get to the right place, because you don't want to show them too early. But now is really the time to have all these reveals. Given overall, let's call it the EV market, what fascinates me is there's some strong differences. And I had this epiphany about a week or so ago that when I see, living in California, we're not far, even though it's northern, Fremont factory for the leading EV company. Every time I see a car carrier that's full of these vehicles, I realize that the majority of them is sold. They're just deliveries. And when you see a car carrier, other brands, vehicles, they're not sold. Very rarely are they pre-sold. They're just going to sit on a lot. So you really want to understand the opportunity that comes with the EV world and everything that's happening. The amount of chargers going in, and look where we are with NACS. We said that's where we want to be. We took a big risk, but it paid off, because right now we're in that risk reward world. And so far it's helping us to distinguish ourselves.
I give you guys all the credit for that NACS transition. I still feel like that was the kickstart that was needed to get everybody on board, because NACS wasn't really an open standard before you guys put that petition out there, and I think even Elon acknowledged it and stuff, and now pretty much everybody has made the switch.
It's a funny one. I look at it in the way we kind of condensed fact from a vapor of nuance.
Well said.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, well, why
said.
doesn't everybody have this? This is such an elegant solution. So, okay, one day it's like North American charging standard.
Yeah.
There it is. I give credit for pursuing that, and I give all the industry credit for saying, you know what, this is better all around.
Yeah, I'm very thankful that happened, because for a while there, not a lot of people were adopting it, and I was kind of losing hope that we were going to have a unified standard. Now I feel a lot more confident. Just give it a couple more years, and it won't even be a question. You won't even have to say NACS. It's just the port. Thank you so much for your time. If there's anything else you want to promote, unveil, let me know.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.